Chat, I want to watch one of these.
84th episode of the H3 podcast. Host Ethan Klein chose to interview his favorite comedian Bill Burr.
And I was such a big fan of Bill Burr, obviously. Who isn't? He's a legend.
But after 54 minutes of talking, Ethan's life had been altered permanently.
That's when I started taking antidepressants after that episode.
Really?
Now, you'll need to remember a specific date. The 12th of September 2018. It was not only the day when the episode was first posted, but it was also a day when viewers were already annoyed at Ethan for something he'd done prior. You see, just 5 days beforehand on the 7th of September, Ethan used his H3H3 Productions main channel to advertise a game they'd been building, which was especially annoying since they hadn't uploaded anything else over the previous 3 months. We waited 3 months for a 2.5-minute ad. I can't skip the ad for some reason. So disappointing that we wait for 3 months and this is a standalone video. This is something that belongs tagged at the end of a good old H3H3 vid, with the backlash prompting Ethan to respond via Twitter. This therefore established that in the same week as interviewing Bill Burr, Ethan was not only increasingly prone to criticism, but his confidence had also been crushed.
There was a lot going on.
Which was certainly awful.
It was taken to Twitter.
Timing, as Ethan was set to face his toughest guest so far. Bill Burr had been running his own Monday morning podcast since May of 2007, meaning he had 11 years of podcasting experience compared to Ethan's year and a half. Ethan skipped all the side quests and went straight for the boss. Ethan was therefore extremely nervous from the moment the episode started.
I am so neurotic. I am nervous. I'm nervous right now.
Okay.
Very nervous.
I don't think that's gonna help.
How do you, was there ever, no, trust me, I'm on edge.
Only made worse given Ethan and his wife were both massive fans of Bill Burr's show.
Like, we were listening to his podcast every day during that time.
Ethan therefore also began the episode with a compliment, although there was a reason this made Bill somewhat uncomfortable. In a Hollywood Reporter interview, it was stated, even a compliment can potentially rub Burr the wrong way. As Bill explained, if someone was really nice, I would just be like, get away from me. If someone was an asshole, it's like, oh, that seems familiar. For whatever reason, I don't like being complimented, which killed the episode from the second the podcast started.
Ethan came into this interview too much as a fan, as a listener of Bill's podcast, and Bill came into this podcast with an attitude of, I don't know who you are, I don't give a shit.
Damn, a react of a video about a podcaster reviewing a podcaster's podcast. Now that's meta.
As mentioned, it quickly became obvious that Bill didn't want to be there, which, as highlighted by Red Bar, is the perfect mixture for a terrible show.
Bill Burr seems to be in a nasty little mood, and that could ruin the whole interview. Look at him. Look how miserable he is.
Whether or not Bill was in a bad mood would be up for debate later, although as the interview continued, something became obvious. Bill Burr wasn't going to blindly agree with everything Ethan said, and would always give his honest opinion, even if it hindered the course of the episode.
He's not being a good interviewee. You can be gracious and maybe the question's not perfect, but you can, accommodate it with like a good answer and bring it back to a good place. He doesn't like to do that at all.
Ethan got his first taste of this.
Okay, you guys. I don't want to be contrarian, okay? Guys, it's not because it's Ethan saying this, chat. Guys, I think a podcast energy is what it is, right? If the answer ends up being combative or whatever, and it's predictable it's gonna be like that, I think you can explore the avenue and just send it, right? I think expecting it to be like good and like friendly at one point, you're already past that line and just send it.
Bring it back to a good place. He doesn't.
That would be a good interviewer.
Ethan got his first taste of this when suggesting the following point.
Bullying's almost important in a way, isn't it? Like, you gotta allow kids to give each other shit.
I don't think as a parent you ever allow it.
Sure.
Although it became more obvious 10 minutes later when the two started talking about the dog whisperer.
Does he even know anything? I also wonder, does he just pretend like he knows?
Well, I think the guy knows what he's doing.
Okay, all right.
I mean, he got a TV show. You're a really cynical guy, man.
I thought you were down. I thought you were going to be down.
That is a lot for me to say that.
I thought you were going to be down, but
cynical
apparently I'm cynical even to Bill Burr.
Given the podcast was being streamed in real time, viewers gave their live reaction.
I don't blame Ethan over there. I think he tried to find a common ground or whatever, right? to kind of on a point and still missed the.
In a Reddit thread reading, am I the only one who's finding this podcast super awkward? What is wrong with Ethan? He's not laughing at any of Bill's jokes, and it's like he's lost all conversational skills, prompting a top comment reading, yeah, there's no chemistry between Bill and Ethan. However, things only got worse from here, as after 54 minutes of talking, the following exchange occurred.
It seems like you're in love with your daughter, hearing you talk about her on the podcast.
Jesus Christ. Well, you're pretty perceptive. You think you care about your own child.
Listen, more than that, okay? Because again, you're this character. You gush over your daughter. Not everyone gushes. Did your dad gush over you?
My dad actually at work did. And he also had a zillion kids, so I mean, yeah.
Really? How many siblings do you have?
I don't know, dude. The internet's too fucking weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will
by all means,
compromise
keep
your
talking
privacy.
about it. Is there any way you can cut this out? I'm honest, dude. Like,
seriously?
Yeah, no, dude. There's fucking lunatics out there.
Okay.
Well,
Off the air, I'll tell you.
all right.
Jeez. I love how surprised he is. Jeez.
Well,
There's
you can mention the amount.
There's absolutely crazy people out
Okay,
there.
yeah. No. All right. I don't know why that got so flat.
With Bill being direct and private, and Ethan being curious and open, the conversation failed to flow for a pretty obvious reason.
Could not have picked two totally different people to get together and have an interview.
This could be observed when Ethan doubled down on the compliment.
Guys, again, I don't want to be nitpicking, chat, but guys, I'll make it to. Chat, you know when you go, you know when there's like 3 people, and you go, huh, this fucking guy. That's how I felt to me, dude. I don't know.
The greatest Bill Burr.
Oh,
I do mean that, by the way. I know it makes you uncomfortable.
It
but
does.
Although there was one final question that put the podcast in a casket. 12 years beforehand in 2006, Bill Burr had performed a stand-up set in Philadelphia where he basically roasted the audience to their face, and in response he was booed by everyone. The set has since been considered legendary given Bill would even go there. However, when Ethan brought it up on their episode, Bill Burr wasn't looking to talk about it.
It was when you were getting booed by thousands of people in Philly.
I was like, when you said my favorite YouTube video, I was like, oh God, not the Philly thing again. Now I hate you.
Oh no.
I love. What can I do? I love that.
Wait, I realized he's got a better hairline on his face.
No, I'm not gonna ask you. You've talked about this a lot. I didn't realize.
No, but go ahead. Let's do it. Let's
now
do it.
I frankly,
I
like making you.
I like making you uncomfortable.
Well, what am I supposed to? Well, what am I? Yeah, right. And now, what do you want me to be? Well, what was going through your head, Bill, when you're getting booed by all those people?
I don't know.
Yet the two completed the episode by insisting that things had gone well.
I almost made it through without making an ass of myself. I got so close.
What are you talking about? I had a great time.
I did too. I really did.
I hope you did. I'm worried about you.
I did.
Thank God
I'm playing it up. I'm playing it up.
The audience reaction, however, couldn't have been more negative. Longtime H3H3 fan, but I'm really struggling staying with the podcast. We all knew that Ethan wasn't a great podcast partner / interviewer, but today it's just horrible. Bill's realness really contrasts Ethan's wacky performance, which is furthered by a meme reading who would win. Stand-up comedian, actor, voice artist, writer, musician, producer and social critic, industry veteran at 25 plus years, or a comedian who dresses up in costumes and says the memes. In a different post, you / SkyKid200 highlighted, you know you messed up when you make Bill Burr cringe, and in the one and only post questioning, am I the only one around here who didn't think the interview with Bill Burr was bad? The top comment simply stated yes. On the video itself, KG stated, this just made me like Bill more than I already did, although there were others who thought Bill was the one who messed up the interview.
What I would say to Bill Burr is get a grip. There's going to be 1 million people watching this. If you don't want to do it, don't come. Don't be a crank. There's no room for cranks in these interviews.
The unpopular opinion was that Bill Burr was the douche, as he was purposely trying to be superior to Ethan the entire time. And the sibling shit, that was a dumbass overreaction by Bill. I know how many siblings Bill Burr has. Let's use this info to find him somehow. Bill came off as that baby boomer kind of guy who doesn't quite get what you are saying, and to
my opinion, there's a baseline. You can still do your thing and still shine, even if you're interviewing a rock. Okay, if you give you a rock or whatever, it doesn't matter. the better you are what you do, the more you can shine, the worse they will look if they actually want to be combative and stupid. That's just what it is. That's an actual thought I have.
The compensate tries to make you feel uncomfortable. This was also argued by another
There's no
user
point
who
fully
wrote,
offloading
I'm
the
curious,
fucking
if I
blame.
know the amount of siblings of a person, what would that kind of information ever benefit me, even if I was someone who would have vicious thoughts in their head? Ridiculously overreacted, although as was highlighted in the comments, Bill certainly has the right to his own privacy. Who was at fault wasn't important anyway. All that mattered was the interview went so poorly, Ethan cancelled all of his following podcast guests.
I was canceling episodes after that.
And instead hosted 7 weeks worth of episodes with just him and his wife, one of which addressing how the show had become hated.
It feels like nobody likes this podcast and everybody wants it to go away, but somebody likes it. I mean, people watch it, right? I mean, this
few out there.
This person likes it.
This was addressed in detail only 2 videos later, in which Ethan didn't reference the Bill Burr episode, but explained that something had derailed his life.
About 2-3 months ago is when I kind of hit rock bottom, and I was just so miserable that I was so tired. I didn't no longer want it to be myself.
As a result of this unspecified event, Ethan had begun using antidepressants.
So I had this bottle of antidepressants in my bedside, and I said, you know, after dealing with this and hitting rock bottom, I started taking it.
Which was the only alternative to ditching the podcast completely.
I have thought about quitting the podcast, honestly.
A lot.
Yeah, because it's been such a pain. It's been so painful at times.
Ethan instead doubled down on the broadcasting by discussing his Bill Burr experience with the most unlikely of people, Theo Von. You see, Theo had his own disaster podcast with Bill, where Bill also acted harshly towards Theo for asking fairly innocent questions.
Do you keep a weapon on yours or no?
On what?
In your, I don't know if you have a helicopter or if you rent a
Do I
helicopter.
really have to answer that? He knows goddamn well I don't have a weapon. Why are you doing this?
You don't? You don't have a gun? I don't think it's obtuse really to think.
Yeah, I mean, guys, okay, with all due respect, guys, it's usually, you don't want people knowing whether you have a gun or not. I think that's the whole point, right?
You might have a weapon in there with you. Think about it.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay, all right.
You think about it.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Fine.
Theo and
It's a
Ethan
big
therefore
deal.
met to
It's a
discuss
big
what
deal.
had happened, where Ethan confirmed his rock bottom moment was because of the Bill Burr episode.
I went into therapy after that episode. I'm not
Did you
even
really?
I'm not even being kidding. I mean, I was having a depressive episode for a long time.
Right.
And I had these antidepressants next to my bed. And after that episode with Bill Burr, I came home, and that's when I started taking antidepressants, and I went to therapy.
Wow.
It was soul crushing.
Ethan then explained why the interview was so tough for him.
When he sees an opening, he like attacks.
Yeah.
I'm not
He is
gonna
unlike
want- I'm not
anyone
gonna
else
want
I've ever
that.
interviewed, because he's not willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. He will expose any chinks in your armor.
And that the hardest part to deal with was how the audience reacted.
It didn't feel that bad, but it was the reaction, the audience reaction to it afterward.
However, for those revisiting the original podcast, Ethan admitting to therapy opened a brand new point of criticism. H3 just said bullying is important. That's rich considering he needed therapy and antidepressants after a simple conversation with Bill Burr. It's ironic that Ethan said sometimes kids need to be bullied when he later cried about how hard the Bill Burr interview was. The fact that he went into therapy after this interview is crazy lol, although Ethan was preparing for a shot at redemption. Exactly 1 year after the first Bill Burr interview, Ethan made a post on Instagram reading, "It was an honor to be fat shamed today by the great Bill Burr," confirming the two had done another interview.
I don't know.
Surprisingly, it was Bill Burr who suggested the redo.
And then Bill Burr reached out to us to come back on a second time. He reached out to us. And the second one, everyone thought went great. They said it was the redemption episode.
Ethan therefore reframed the first interview as a positive learning experience.
From that episode, though, I've had a lot of growth. I don't take it back. The Bill Burr thing specifically.
You don't take the Bill Burr thing back.
No.
Especially given how it changed his day-to-day life.
Taking antidepressants, going to therapy was like the best choice I ever made for me and my family, and professionally too. I mean, it's made everything better.
Seems fine to me.